Hello, everyone. I'm Karen, founder of Rise Sustainable Fashion Innovation Platform. And 2 years ago, Rise was launched in Shanghai by Impact Hub, one of the largest platforms focusing on social innovation and sustainable development in the world. So I'm quite honored to have all the panelists here. And today we are going to talk with the industry leaders and the pioneers talk about how the social innovations to promote sustainability in fashion industry. Let's welcome all the panelists. My first question would like to ask Joanne, as a leader in the sustainable luxury fashion industry, how do you interpret the social responsibilities you shoulder, or I can say, how do you interpret sustainable fashion?
Sure, thanks, Karen. It's my pleasure to join this forum because sustainability is such an important topic for fashion industry. Actually, fashion industry is the second most polluting industry globally. You cannot imagine that number, but that is one of the data released by the ESG group, that actually not only the second most polluting, the water consuming of fashion industry is also quite astonishing. For example, if we want to have one cotton shirt, it usually costs 700 gallons of water to produce one cotton shirt. That is enough water for one person to drink at least 8 cups per day for 3.5 years. So can you imagine the burden on our shoulder for this industry? I had one speech in Davos years ago before COVID, and explained to the people in this industry that it's really our responsibility to protect our Earth and our beautiful global environment to reduce the pollution in this industry. However, unlike the other industry that are concentrated of the supply chains, fashion, the whole ecosystem is extremely complex, fragmented, and global. So I think we still have a long road to go, but it's really our journey to put a long-term vision on the ESG and sustainability and to take actions for going forward.
Thanks, Joanne, and thanks. It is very insightful, and your sharing just help us have a better understanding that what is sustainable fashion to a brand. And my next question would like to ask Priyanka. We all know that Fashion for Good is a global initiative to inspire change and drive the collective movement to make fashion a force for good. So as an innovation platform, we would like to hear from you, what are the visions of Fashion for Good when it comes to sustainable fashion, and how should the brands, retailers, and the manufacturers cooperate with one another to realize this vision?
Thank you, Karen. I think maybe I'll give a quick overview of or introduction to Fashion for Good. So Fashion for Good, as you mentioned, is with the aim to making fashion a source for good. What we really do is, or with the goal of accelerating and scaling technology innovation. That's basically our more micro level goal or general goal in view, which is how do we accelerate and scale technology innovation within the fashion industry? Because our belief is the industry needs to change and transform at the moment, because as mentioned earlier, there's a lot of emissions that come out of it. It's one of the higher polluting industries in the world. And we foresee that to transform this industry, to make it more circular and sustainable, you have to infuse technology in here. So that is our overall goal, to find these technologies, to make them, to assess whether they can actually work with larger industry or industry as a whole, and then support them to scale with the existing players and hopefully with the industry-wide integration in future. So with that goal, our understanding of the dynamics of the industry dynamics currently, as you also mentioned, what should manufacturers brands and technologies do around it. The current supply chain is quite complicated for the fashion industry. In my opinion, I usually like to say it's multiple industries in one industry. It's so large and so complicated. And in each of these supply chain steps, as I would say, from raw materials to processing to actual manufacturing, all the way till the end of use, there are multiple technology intervention areas, which, if brought into the supply chain, can potentially transform the footprint of the industry, reduce the natural resources used like water, and also overall carbon emissions, the polluting of water, etc., can be brought down through these. So what we are focusing on, what our vision is, that in each of these supply chain steps, we should be able to embed the technologies that can be scaled up in the industry overall. And to make that happen, it's not something that only technologies can do. We work with multiple now. We've looked at about 3,000 technologies, and we're working with about 157 across the supply chain. But that's one part of the game. We need the industry on the other end. So we have brands who are supporting this initiative as well, and who are also assessing with us which of these technologies can actually work, and then supporting to scale them. And the third leg, which I think is one of the most important, is the supply chain. That is the manufacturers, whether it's tier 3, tier 1, tier 2, whichever manufacturers, they have to be brought on board, also educated on everything that is happening and all the challenges there are, because they are usually the final people to work with the innovations. So in my opinion, the industry dynamics need to change quite a lot. This buyer-seller relationship that exists in the industry between the brand and the supplier, that dynamic needs to change to more co-development or co-creation, and literally bringing in on board with these suppliers and brands, the technologies that would make this change happen. So I think that's how, in short, I would foresee the industry dynamics change. I'll pause here and wait for a follow-up question.
Yeah, I cannot agree more. And I totally agree that supply chain is so key, such a key to the whole industry to promote a sustainable fashion. And I would like to ask Kate, as an AI plus fashion flexible supply chain business, maybe you can explain to the audience what exactly flexibility in fashion means to us.
Right. Thank you, Karen. We just talked about the supply chain, the importance of supply chain, the fashion industry. Actually, in our opinion, most of the impact of the fashion industry was not only at the brand level, but also at the production level, at the supply chain side. It's not only about the raw materials like the cotton, silk, cashmere, it's also about the whole production process. So Finu is a technology company. When we start up this company, we are trying to bring a new concept of sustainable fashion into this area, into this very traditional area, especially the manufacturer side. So for when we talk about the supply chain, we talk about the factories, the workers in the lines. So they doing a lot of work, such as the sewing, the dyeing, cutting, all the process. When they did all the process, they usually need some technology things to help them improve their work efficiency. When we usually have very big order and the large quantity of each order, so they have enough time to get familiar with each procedures to make their work be more effective. But right now, with very short delivery time, they need to keep on-time delivery, and they have very small quantities. It requires the factory need to get the workers, the materials, the process being a dynamic level. They need to have a dedicated planning thing to put the order into different process, like the if they do the cutting, they need to consider the multiple combination of the color, of the size, and to get everything together and go into the sewing process and go to the finishing process. In this way, in the supply chain side, with the AI's help, the factory can have a brain to help do the decision making, not only decide on the technical person or on the plant owner or the team leader. They can have all the data. They collect the digitalizing process from each station, each worker, and then do the analysis to make the workers be more effective. In this way, people can take the small orders, small quantities to do this flexible work production to avoid overproduction. In this way, we can avoid the produce more to make the waste in the fashion industry, to make the whole things be more sustainable.
Thanks, Kate. And now we have a better understanding about your business. And also, I have a more clear idea about how Failure Tech contribute to sustainable fashion. And thanks for your sharing. And my next question would like to ask Joanne again. As sustainable fashion is still at the very beginning in China, so I think it is very challenging to balance profitability and sustainability. So how can a brand achieve a balance between economic value and sustainability? Can you share more your insights with us?
Sure. Just like Kate said, actually sustainability is not only about fabric or some technology. It's also about supply chain. And supply chain can improve a lot of efficiency. One data tells us every year there are more than 100 billion pieces of fashion items. However, there are 30% of them never sold. Okay, so they were put into a field, like a field land, and are totally a waste. So improve the supply chain is very important. However, it's also very costly to reform the supply chain. I think the challenge to reform supply chain is actually based on in the past. When we talk about the supply chain, everybody talking about how to minimize the costs to improve the efficiency. But sustainability is another concept. It's not about reduce the cost. The key is to protect our environment, to get a long-term protection on the green environment, so that we have to think about new business model and also challenge the old way, just to save dollars by putting more fashion pieces. But we also challenge a lot of, challenge ourselves in an innovative way, how we sell. For example, there's a lot of platforms in the market now. We do the resale or repair or rental basis to sell fashion pieces. Okay, so you don't need to really buy, and some of them can be recycled. And also, we can see that a lot of brands like Allbirds, they use very sustainable fabric as a fundamental of the product. So I think that overall speaking, we have to challenge our current business model from supply chain to the sales channel in order to get to the sustainability to the next level. However, this is definitely a trade-off of profitability versus sustainability, because to get there costs more money.
Yes, this is very a very insightful idea, and I cannot agree more. And so from joint sharing, we noticed that innovation plays a very important role to drive the sustainability in fashion industry. So as a leader of the innovation platform, I would like to ask Priyanka. We understand that innovation platform provides inspirations and technical support to link brands and the retailers and the supply chain together. I would like to hear more from you about how you elaborate for us exactly the platform functions. Can you share with us more about what you are doing right now?
Sure. First of all, it's really nice to hear both the other inputs here, because from a brand's perspective, talking about circular business models and zero waste manufacturing, I think is fantastic, because that is to say there is already a level of education and appetite to invest in certain these things, and also talking about price parity, which is the hard reality that sustainability at the moment comes at premium. So I want to just reiterate those points, that is quite appreciated, and also the technology side, because it's quite in line with how this is a group where we would normally deal with, where we would be bringing the discussions between an innovator, brand, and also a supply chain partner to solve some of these problems, or solve for some of these problems. So, and going back to, as you said, what are our functions in the industry? So we built that expertise over the past 5 years of knowing the technologies and understanding which are, through various due diligences, bringing experts on board, etc., to understand which are at the moment scalable, or which are the technologies that can be put forward for future. And when I say technologies, I mean innovation in general. Some of these are just incremental innovations. Some of these are completely transformative innovations. And our understanding it for the industry to change, we need both. So we support on both ends. And once we have the understanding of who has the capacity and capability, or who are the winners in this space, we'd work deeply with our supply chain partners and brand partners to test it out. So actually build technical tests, prototypes, pilots, etc., to validate that this actually works, at least in a smaller format. And then we push them towards scaling through various projects, as well as one-on-one support and bringing other experts in. Now, it sounds really simple to say acceleration, so validating them and then taking them towards scaling. Our learnings in the last couple of years is to reach the pilot stage has relatively been easier, because we are able to validate a lot. But when it comes to scaling, there are multiple challenges that come in, many curated, customized challenges that we have never anticipated. So that is the big challenging or tricky piece that we are trying to solve for at the moment, which would mean engaging deeper into supply chain, which would mean testing at or piloting at various levels, lab scale to pilot lines, to bigger pilot lines, to more concrete lines. So our universe is between how do we get them to test out technologies with the actual stakeholders in the industry, and how do we take it to scaling. Now, to make this happen, our functions, as I said, have been around finding the right partners. Our understanding is also that the green premium, or the sustainability premium, as Joanne referred to earlier, only a few players in the industry have appetite for that, as well as the resources for that. So we work with usually the larger players in the industry who have a very strong focus on sustainability, as well as are willing to put in resources in making a lot of this happen. And this means both from the manufacturer side, as well as the industry, that is the brand side, brand and retailer side. Now, ideally, we would love to work with everyone in the industry, but that always becomes a challenge, because our understanding for growth is that if somebody puts resources now, the actual industry puts resources now and creates offtake, then potentially as the innovators grow, economies of scale hit in, and the price comes down to an extent that the rest of the industry can adopt it. But for that, we are constantly looking at leaders in the industry to come forward in both the manufacturing, brand, as well as the technology space. And then, of course, technology work is exactly the same. A lot of the technical, like the hard tech, for example, is coming out of labs, and getting them out of labs all the way to independent companies working with some of the largest brands. I think that is one of the most interesting and the challenging part. A huge lever to this is financing. And a lot of our efforts have been to create more and more financing in this space. But even now, I think 5 years of efforts later, I still believe that financing in sustainable fashion actually is quite nascent. And while we drive a debt fund for manufacturers, we also do a little bit of equity investments. And there are probably 5 other funds focused on this area. I think we need a lot more capital infusion coming from both the industry side as well as independent financiers and various different kind of tools, because our understanding is a lot of the really difficult nuts to crack, like chemical recycling, for example, require a lot of capital for R&D, which is even pre-revenue. So that is another nut that we are trying to constantly crack and open. And then there are other technologies like traceability, failure, for example, also that actually are more digital as well and actually can be scaled up much more rapidly in the industry. And I think those are really great support areas because fashion industry creates a mix of both, which is more on the digital, virtual technologies, creating traceability, transparency, etc., but also really deep hard tech technologies that will still probably take a decade or two to scale. So I'll pause here.
Yeah, that's very inspirational, and we all have the same feeling about the challenges in the industry, even in China. And I would like to ask Kate. We all know that it is quite difficult to change the traditional garment manufacture. So how does failure tech contribute to sustainability in the industry? Can you help us to summarize and give us a direct idea about how you change the industry in a sustainable way?
Okay, as mentioned, Finutech is a high technology company. It was founded by IBM Dr. Watson's scientist team in 2016. So during the past 6 or 7 years, we focused on how to apply application of the advanced technology like the artificial intelligence and machine learning into this very traditional manufacturing supply chain side. We go to thousands of factories, including the China factories and the international ones. And we develop a SaaS product called Sourcemat, SEW Sourcemat. So this advanced manufacturing SaaS system can be implemented into the manufacturing, into the factories. In a simple way, we attached Android tablet with this Sourcemat app installed into each working station, like the cutting or sewing machine, cutting machine, sewing machine. And with this app installed tablet, the workers can get every information they need to know. In the infrastructure side, we generate these orders, these working orders. Like for example, we have a style, we have this 2022 new style. We get this sweatpants need to be produced in a company, in a factory. We have this SKU, we have its delivery time, and we put this order into our software system, and it will automatically generate the processing operations, like for each SAM, it's a sewing SAM, like it's maybe a 13-3 process, and for each SAM, we have a database. We can get for each process, which is its total seconds or total minutes for different process. For example, for this sweatpants, maybe it's a 13.5 operation process and in a total 22 minutes in each SAM. Usually it will be dispatched, calculated by very skilled technician or the industry engineer. Now the system can help the factories, the manufacturing factories to populate by using these technologies. Then it will generate the production plan intelligently and accordingly based on how many numbers people in this production line, what is their skills, how scalable each person's are, which equipment they are going to use. Is there enough equipment in this production line? What is the standard time? Like we just calculate the same time and the processing operations. And we calculate all the variables together and generate best plans to put this sweatpant, for example, it's maybe 3,000 in 3 color, in 5 size, maybe go to different areas. So it has different delivery time to which part to go to which lines to get produced. Then this APP will go to each department. For example, for the cutting unit, it will have this Sourcemat APP for cutting unit. Each cutting workers, for example, they are doing the fabric relaxing, they are doing the spreading, the cutting, all the information will go to their template. They just do these things according to the system's order. And for each work they did, for example, they can record how many actual layers they did for each raw material. They have this planned layers displayed in their APP. When they finished their work, they recorded the actual layers. So the system knows the whole process, and it will also record the barcode number. There is a QR code being generated to tracking this fabric from cutting unit to a fabric supermarket and to a sewing market, even for some outsourcing area. So it will calculate how many WIPs, how many fabrics being put into which area. And then the system go to the production side. For each workers in the production line, they will be assigned a template and they will be assigned their process. The line managers will give them a quick training about how to use the APP for their daily work. And then when they did their work, they just click the APP and it will calculate their how many pieces, how many bundles being processed. The line managers will say in his template, he will say the line balance. So in production, we do the line balance checking and we can see the real-time information for the line leaders and the management. They can make the decision. If there's a bottleneck generated, how to do the line balance, how to balance the operations from one worker to different workers or reassign the original process operations to different lines. In this way, we can do the line balance checking and do this, find the bottleneck and do this whole line balance checking and adjustment things automatically. And it also includes the inspection for inline inspection and online inspection. In this way, all the information is being digitalized by this system, by this Sourcemat system, and the Sourcemat system calculate all the information and give new orders to each workers to make the whole process be very effective. And it will also do some hardware in the loop, like just mentioned, there's different hardwares in a factory, like the hand system or the HV or the sewing machine. It will integrate with these different systems to do this. We call the hardware in the loop. In this way, the Sourcemat system will integrate like the hand system and directing the path of each hanger to further increase the production efficiency. Actually, in some factories, like in China or in other area, even they have this very advanced hardware equipment. Due to the educational and management level, the manufacturing side cannot fully use this hardware system like the Han system. With Finews software's help, it can automatically generate the best route for each hanger to help the manufacturing, to help the workers, to help the management further increase the efficiency of their hardware system. So this is an example about how to use some advanced things to improve daily operation for each workers, for each manufacturing thing.
Thanks, Kate, for sharing so many details with us to help us know more about the smart solutions you have worked on. And although we know that the fashion industry is still a very traditional industry, and but you are still make everything's changing. So we really appreciate that solution. And also, I would like to ask Priyanka, as I know that Fashion for Good used to base in Netherlands, and I just noticed that why you have moved your team to Asia as well. So can you share with us what the future of for Asia in terms of strategy and actions from your side?
Thank you. And thank you, Kate. That was so interesting. I have so many questions for you, but I'm probably going to take that offline. I think our purpose of coming to Asia is exactly this, to be able to interact with innovators like Kate here, and to be able to assess which of the technologies we can potentially support and how. The big vision or reason around moving to Asia was we worked for the first few years of our existence. Fashion for Good is a relatively young organization with the brands and with the technologies. And we realized that actually to make any kind of pilot or any test happen for the technologies to be integrated, we needed the supply chain, because supply chain is where all the action happens. And none of the brands really own their supply chain. And when we looked at what are the right supply chain areas for us to build on, Asia came as generally one of the biggest manufacturing areas in the world, of course. And then we looked at South Asia, East Asia, but separately, and tried to assess where we fit in. So our goal was to engage leading manufacturing players into the platform, into our innovation, or let's say our sphere of partners, who can, again, put in the resources, time, work, and develop innovations, and have, let's say, stronger goals towards sustainability. And then, of course, two-part on the innovation side, to find more localized innovations. Over the first few years of our existence, we realized we're relatively easy to work with for Western innovations, European innovations, maybe a little bit coming from Asia, but not a lot. And our hypothesis was that actually, given that how close this is to the manufacturing region, there should be a lot more innovation there that we're just not able to tap at the moment. That's why coming and setting up localized, it's the first time we've expanded anywhere. The point was to really find these localized innovations and be able to support them. And on the flip side, a lot of these technologies that we work with, which are fantastically coming out from other areas of the world, want to be closer to the supply chain. They want to be either present in or work in partnership with various suppliers in the manufacturing region, as in Asia primarily. So it became like there are multiple reasons now pushing us towards going into a manufacturing region. And with this in mind, we went into quite a staged approach. Over the last 3 years, we've been establishing our presence in South Asia. So actually India, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Pakistan, this market is what we've been catering to quite heavily. We have a few manufacturing partners from there as well, some of the leaders, and we've looked at a lot of technologies coming out of this region. And I think now we support about 30 technologies over the last 3 years. So yeah, about 32 technologies from this region. And since last year, what we've understood that we've built some leadership in here, and we'd like to now figure out what all is available in East Asia, where are the technologies and how can we get access to them, and who are the leading players that we want to talk to. So this has been sort of an effort. And I think coming to platforms like this and being able to talk about fashion for good is a way to also move into the region and identify the right suppliers. Also to think about, a lot of our brands have their supply chain partners or strategic supply chain partners sitting across East Asia. And we want to be able to build relationships there, but with the core goal of, number one, creating education in the industry. A lot of what Fashion for Good does is create awareness that there is a lot that needs to be done in the industry and how these problems can be solved. And then to find narrow number of partners to work directly with, and then technologies that we can support through this entire process. I think it's been quite interesting journey for us overall. It hasn't been like, there are so many language challenges within Asia as well. So it hasn't been as easy to roll out everything, but it has been quite interesting because a lot of the current commitments on sustainability are coming from Western, either governments driven and brands, the bigger brands. We have not seen as much commitment, obviously a few leaders aside, coming from Asian manufacturers and brands. And I think that we take ownership of that as part of our role also, to be able to bring that message that here is what is happening in the footprint in the industry, here are the challenges. We need to start building policies around it, the legislation which will support or push the industry to make higher commitments on sustainability, and then hence push the industry to find solutions and disrupt the supply chain.
Oh, thanks, Priyanka. I feel so excited to hear about your future plan, because China is also the largest market of both manufacturing and the consumption in fashion industry. So look forward to collaborate with Fashion for Good to connect our local innovation actors with Fashion for Good. Yeah, look forward to. And my last question would like to go to Joanne. We all know that the pandemic, the COVID-19 has changed us a lot. Like the consumer, their attitude towards sustainability, they are more aware of that problem, and they are more eager to connect with the nature, and also they are more careful about their daily decision making on consumption. So how to incorporate observations on consumer into product design, especially after the pandemic, and how do you communicate with consumers and nudge them in the right directions? Can you share your insight with us?
Sure. Definitely, I think the young generation is really have more like a mindset on this sustainability, and they want to make a statement about their visions on the earth for future. Lavon Group, is also definitely approved of the generation that we want to really make our efforts to protect the earth. So basically, I can give you an example how we link the design and the product into the sustainability concept. For example, Warful is one brand in our group that it is the brand that have from cradle to cradle certificate, first certificate at a gold level in this industry. Means our products are 100% disposable, and also we have designed a special capsule, we say Aurora, using that fabric that is totally no polluting to the environment, with 100% disposable fabric to really push to the market and to the customers, so that we can really contribute our efforts on the sustainability. Another example is we have one collection called the microfish scale collection. It's actually generated from fish net and the other nylon waste. So basically, we're using a lot of the recycled materials to do the product to reduce the pollution. And in the plant of Warford, we actually developed a hot water and a steam system for the entire production process. So as mentioned before, that fashion is responsible almost 10% of the carbon emission globally. So we have to reduce the carbon emission, and Wolfer has developed this hot water and steam system to at least reduce 200 tons of carbon emission every year. So we actually accumulated these small steps every day, and then we communicate our vision on sustainability and our mission to protect the earth to our younger customers, to say we are all aligned on our future, mission towards a green, planet.
Okay, thank you, Jo. Thank you for joining. And I do enjoy the discussion with all of you on that topic. And we all know that sustainability is such a big topic for us to discuss about. But the time is up for us for today's session. So we are quite sure that the transformation of fashion industry need a lot of people work together and more people to participate. So at the end, I would like to invite all of you to collaborate together and to make our fashion industry to be more rational, inclusive, smart, and eco-friendly. Okay, thank you all of you to join our session today. And yeah, this is all of our discussion today. And thanks for joining with us. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.